This weekend, Skull and Bones finally fully released after being in development for over 10 years, and I have played it. As far as my thoughts go on it, I really want to know what the hell Ubisoft was doing for those 10 years. I know Ubisoft supposedly completely restarted production of the game several times, but sheesh. What we got is a bare-bones, super arcadey, tall ship combat game. Which, if you have never played the game that this game is based off of, the combat is okay if all you want is ship versus ship combat. That is all this game does, and I mean 100%. That is the entire combat in this game, ship versus ship. There is no hand-to-hand combat at all, which is a massive letdown. In a pirate game, there's no cutlass, there's no flintlock, nothing. What is even more outright embarrassing is that 10 years ago, the game that Skull and Bones is based off of, Black Flag, released. So I thought today we would look at just what is both in Skull and Bones and Black Flag. Meaning that we're looking at the systems and mechanics that both games have. There's of course much more to do in Black Flag than in Skull and Bones, but we just want to take a look at the systems that both games have in common. So, ladies and gents, this is how a 10-year-old game embarrasses the hell out of Ubisoft's latest quadruple A release, as they so call it. So starting off with the resource gathering in the game. So both games require you to gather resources to upgrade your ships. In both games you can gather these resources from islands, ships, and aquatic animals, land animals, and Black Flag. So looting ships is fairly similar. You sink or disable a ship, and then you can loot the loot from the water. You can board ships in both games. Don't worry, we're going to talk about that in its own separate section to claim more loots than if you just blow the ships out of the water and pick up their supplies out of the ocean. But then from here on out, it quickly begins to diverge. Gathering resources from land in Black Flag usually consists of hunting animals or raiding warehouses, where you go ashore, find the target with the key to the warehouse, acquire the key from him, stealthily work your way over to the warehouse, and raid it. Boom, you got your supplies and booty now. In Skull and Bones, it's a quick time event. Straight out of a mobile game. Yep, you pull up to the island and then you tap your mouse key when it's, in the green part. That's it. That's all of the land resource gathering in Skull and Bones. Everything's like that, or some variation of this. So yeah, I'm going to give that one to Black Flag right there. But both games do also have the PETA-approved harpooning system. Although, yet again, it is a bit different. In Black Flag, it's an entirely separate minigame. Kind of like a little mini-boss fight with each species having their own separate attack patterns and such. The great white shark and the sharks in general are much more aggressive and they'll rush your boat. Some of the larger whales, like the humpback whale, they'll slap your longboat with their tail, so forth and so on. So each one's a little bit different. You even upgrade your longboat's armor and the amount of harpoons you can bring with you to go after larger and larger prey in Black Flag. In Skull and Bones, you just throw an infinite supply of harpoons at whatever fish or aquatic mammal you're hunting until they die. You don't even go into a separate longboat. You're just standing on the deck of your ship, yeeting harpoons at whatever it is that you're hunting. Whoa. So all in all, as far as resource gathering goes, I'm going to give it to Black Flag because it's just funner, it's more engaging, you have a greater variety of things to do, it breaks up the monotony of the game. In Skull and Bones, you never leave your ship, so that one goes to Black Flag. Now for the naval combat, according to Ubisoft and the rabid defenders of this game, they do exist. You can check out my comment section of the previous video I did on Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones is all about ship-to-ship combat. That's where it's supposed to shine. So let's see how it stacks up to a 10-year-old game. In Black Flag, you can have mortars, bow chasers, broadside cannons, a ram, and fire barrels all equipped on your ship. Now, in terms of weapon variety, Skull and Bones does win hands down here. And that's one aspect of the game I do like. I like that they said, okay, if we're going to go full arcade, let's let the players strap a friggin' flamethrower to their ship. Like, okay, cool, I can get on board with that. There's rockets, flamethrowers, and all types of convoluted weapons in Skull and Bones, so I'll give that to Ubisoft. Like, yeah, if you're going to go full arcade, go full arcade. Let me construct just the hideous monstrosity of a ship. And that's another thing, too. The ship customization, it's of course greater in Skull and Bones. There's different types of ships. I'm not really going to get too far into that because, again, we're looking at aspects that are in both games, but again, I gotta give it to Ubisoft here. There's different ships, they have different roles. It is supposed to be, a multiplayer game where you play with your friends, and yeah, okay, that's cool. I'll give that to them. But there's the combat itself. Even with all the cool new weapons and such in Skull and Bones, Black Flag there's something about the naval combat in that game. The arc of the cannonballs that you can just spew out of your ship's broadside is it's so satisfying. In Skull and Bones, they have this weird firing cadence, like they're trying so hard to mimic a machine gun. Because, young people play Fortnite and Call of Duty, and you have, just machine guns there just mag dumping into the enemies, and I think they're trying to, get the Zoomer brain addicted to that firing cadence like they do in every other game. Like, I like machine guns, just like any true American, but when it comes to naval artillery, it's all about just sending a wall of shells toward the enemy in one massive salvo. Now, if Skull and Bones would let me pick between the two, okay, cool. Like, I could fire in a salvo firing mode, or I could fire, one cannon at a time like they're trying to mimic here with this firing cadence, but it doesn't. And yeah, that's just, I don't know. I would figure in a game that's all about naval combat, you could have your cannons fire in different modes, right? And they don't give you the arc that they do in Black Flag, that lead indicator that shows you the arc that your cannonballs are going to travel to the enemy ship. You just have this, weird reticle that doesn't really give you a good idea of where the shells are going to exactly go, so you just kind of let it rip. So, yeah. Now, that brings us to the next stage of combat after you disable the enemy ship, and that is boarding. Boarding is present in both games, but in vastly, vastly different ways. And this is what really kills it for me. I could deal with, like I said, I like the new weapons, I like the more arcadey customization and weapon choice and all that jazz. I could even deal with the machine gun cannons. But this is what really, really kills it for me. So look at this battle that's going on in the background right now. After chewing through this galleon's escort fleet, I finally get to him. Both he and I have fired so many times at each other that we've made an entire fog bank out of our muzzle blasts. Now, it's time to board. My crew throws the hooks across to the galleon and starts pulling us together. As we get closer and closer, you realize just how massive this galleon is, and we're about to have to climb onto that and kill that entire crew in order to claim that ship. It's so huge, in fact, that the swivel guns are almost useless because it's just that much taller than the Jackdaw. And you can't really even use the swivel cannons unless a wave lifts up the Jackdaw and you can kind of see their deck. So once the galleon is finally pulled alongside, it's time to get on board. We cut down the crew and claim the ship. After this, in Black Flag, you got a couple of options with what you want to do with the ship. You can use the ship to repair your own ship, which is great for, in the middle of combat, right? You can lower your one level by sparing the crew, or you can add the ship to your own fleet of ships in the little Kenway's Fleet minigame that you can also play in Black Flag. So, that is a very satisfying conclusion to, after you've been spending 10 minutes fighting these ships and cutting them down one at a time, you finally get to board a ship, repair your ship, and then move on. That entire process in Skull and Bones is a 20-second cutscene. The quintessential pirate experience. Boarding a ship that you see in all the pirate movies is a cutscene. in Skull and Bones. In my opinion, there's no excuse for this. Like, what excuse is there? The one that's given doesn't make any sense at all. According to Ubisoft and according to the defenders of this game, it's boring to board an enemy ship. That whole process that we just looked at, that whole sequence in Black Flag, is far from boring in my mind. Now, their argument is that, yeah, it's cool the first, like, dozen times you do it, but after that, it just becomes tedious and monotonous. Okay, that's cool. Black Flag has an option for you to just not board the ship either. You just sink them, and then you take the cargo and run. Like, I do that all the time in game. If I don't need to repair my ship, if I'm just in a rush, I'll just sink them and then go on about my day with what I'm doing next. You don't have to board. So why couldn't you just carry over that same system to Skull and Bones? Now, okay, I get it's a multiplayer experience, right? And maybe with some of the PvP aspects, some of the mechanics, you couldn't really get it to work perfectly, right? I understand maybe for like other players' ships, but for NPC ships, why? And then you might have the argument of, and I've seen this come up too, of like, oh, well, you have to make all these animations and stuff. My brother in Christ, this is the same company that made Black Flag 10 years ago. They have all these animations. You can just strap them onto a higher polygon count model, right, for the sailors and stuff on your deck, and you could go on about your day, and it'd be fine. It'd be perfectly fine. And for the combat, too, they have all the animations for the combat. I mean, this is the company that makes all the Assassin's Creed games, right? They don't just lose those animations. And then, too, you have, like, For Honor and stuff, that fighting game, right? They have all those animations in stock as well. You can reuse them. And they've done that. Some of the animations for Honor do show up in the other Assassin's Creed games, like Valhalla and Odyssey and stuff, too. So, there's no excuse in my mind. This just kills the experience for me. Like, I could deal with you not being able to get out and walk around islands and stuff, except for the main hub world, if, you know, you had boarding. You had the cutlass combat, the flintlock combat, you were able to climb up into the mast of the ships, right, and jump from one to the other. If you gave me that, fine, great, I can deal with that, that's fine, but they don't. They took the lazy route, 20-second cutscene, that is it. And that's not even touching on the fact that, like, you can't even just walk around your own ship. I don't know why they're so hesitant to give your player the ability to walk around, give your character the ability to walk around your ship. You can't leave your ship. You're glued to the wheel of your ship for most of the game, again, unless you're in one of the hub worlds. So you can't walk around your ship's deck. And Black Flag, you can just let go of the wheel at any point in time, walk around your ship, go crawl up to the mast and whatnot. You can explore your ship, and it's cool because you can see all of the customization that you've done with, you know, in Black Flag. The customization is fairly mild. You can change the bow figurine, you can change the sails, and when you upgrade your ship, the hull and, you know, the cannons and stuff, they look different. And it's cool that you can walk around the ship, climb all over it, and see that, hey, you know, that's that new cannon that I upgraded. This is the hull armor that I upgraded. This is the new ram that I bought, right? In Skull and Bones, you can't really do that. I mean, like, you can see your ship when you are on one of the islands that you can go onto, which, again, in Black Flag, you can just jump off your ship and literally swim to whatever island you want to, just about. In Skull and Bones, you have to go through a loading screen. That kind of, you know, breaks up the whole immersion factor, right? So, yeah, that's my little rant about that. Now, as far as, like, the quest and missions go, I mean, it's a standard Ubisoft game with Skull and Bones. You have all these fetch quests and stuff. Go here, go there, deliver this, bring you back that. Standard Ubisoft grind, right? In Black Flag, I mean, Black Flag, it's a single-player game, so the quest system is set up a little bit different, but it does have its fair amount of, you know, those type of, you know, just fetch quests and stuff too, so I can't really fault it there for that. But again, with being, you know, an online live service kind of game that you still have to pay $70 to get, you know, it's like, man, it's really weird what they did here. They force you to pay like $80, $70 up front, right? But then it's this super grindy game, like a free-to-play game. So they're trying to double dip in your wallet here. So the moral of the story is Black Flag is still available for purchase, and it's normally on sale for like $10 They gave it away for free not that long ago, and that's how I got it on PC. I played through the game. This is a game that came out on PS3, fellas. PlayStation Triple is when this game launched, and it's still better than Skull and Bones. It embarrasses Skull and Bones 10 years later. It is made by the same studio. So, what I'm saying is that Skull and Bones is a shadow of Black Flag. And I know it's not meant to be a one-to-one, like, we took Black Flag, we made it multiplayer. If they did that, that would have been a fantastic game. I don't know how you fumble this. This is like the easiest layup in video game history. Black Flag was hugely popular. The pirate section of it was. The ship combat was... I mean, I never played an Assassin's Creed game. I just like boats, right? The whole channel is based around that, right? And when Black Flag came out, this is my first Assassin's Creed game. Because I saw the gameplay of the ships and the ship combat and the pirate side of it, and I bought it because of that. And you just couldn't make that online. It's again the easiest layup in video game history, and they fumbled it. So save your money, buy Black Flag. It probably costs, let me see what it would cost right now in the Ubisoft store. It's $12. It's literally $12 in the Ubisoft shop right now. So for $12 you can get the superior pirate game experience, or for $90 you can get the premium version of Skull and Bones, or $60 for the base version of Skull and Bones if you're a pleb. And keep in mind, this is again a 10-year-old, 13-year-old game at this point. It still looks good too. Yeah, the character models look a little, aged at times, but like, the ships look great. The smoke particles and the particles effects are genuinely still like some of the best in today's world. And the water physics and the water looks excellent, if I do say so myself. I don't know what they like were on when they were creating this game. They just went ham with the smoke, and like still my 3090 screams in the middle of some of these ship battles because of all the smoke and stuff that's just being tossed around everywhere. But anyway, guys, yeah, save your money, get Black Flag. It's $12. Has a much higher smile per dollar rate than Skull and Bones ever will, unless they just completely revamp it. But guys, that's my 2 cents on that subject. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hope you guys have a great Sunday and a great rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.